This gripping story reveals Superman in love, Superman in battle, and for the first time, Superman
Clark
defeated.
Hey everyone, Rascal here.
and Mama. Welcome to our channel, Paws On Animation.
And today's podcast, we're covering yet another DC animated movie, Superman Doomsday this time.
Now, this movie adapts one of the biggest stories in history, showcasing Superman's hardest and longest battle of Doomsday, which shocked the world when the Man of Steel died. But
Before we start, be sure to like, subscribe, and catch us some future podcasts and World of Pause videos.
thank you for subscribing, sharing our videos, commenting, so much more. As always, we appreciate everything you do, our specials. Here's the thing about this movie. This came out in 2007. It's a superhero film, adapted from the DC Comics storyline, The Death of Superman. But surprisingly, neither one of us liked this movie.
Yes, and you're probably like, why? It's one of the most impactful Superman stories out there. And yes, we agree, both for comics and animation. But here's the thing. We liked it in the original Justice League cartoon.
Yes.
That's when it was done for us much better. They used the storyline along with some other comic stories in the series for a two-parter. And for us, it was much more memorable because we kept thinking of that while watching this.
Yes.
And we just felt like this was lackluster. They just pulled it off better in that show.
Now, that being said, this being the first Warner Home Video DC AU movie release, generally positive reviews from critics, and it made $10 million in home media sales on a $3.5 million budget. So it did well, and it may be because of the time which it came out,
Right.
following up this comic storyline. And I don't think the Justice League version had come out to 2008 or 2010.
I think so. Oh, I think it was still early 2000s because the show came out in 2001. So it probably wasn't until maybe a few years.
Okay.
It probably didn't come out for a few years.
But it's generally well liked back when it originally premiered. But for us watching it now, and we actually own it, never watched it, believe it or not,
Right.
and it just didn't hit. It has a 77 minute runtime, and you didn't like this version of Lois Lane. Didn't like too much the storyline, and of course the villain wasn't to be liked, and he wasn't.
Right, you're not supposed to.
And Lex Luthor was just despicable.
Yes, there was no redeeming qualities of him whatsoever in this version. And with Doomsday, you already knew he was supposed to be this just unfeeling, cruel monster that's Luthor's fault. It was unleashed on the world. So he started all of it anyway. And yes, they did portray that perfectly. And you did get the sense that, okay, this is going to be a really bad battle in terms of how rough it was going to be because there was no mercy, there was no stopping it. It was a long, drawn-out battle in terms of making it look like it was a real fight. And they succeeded in that.
Definitely.
And for the most part, they do follow the storyline. We found out later there were some things cut out because they wanted to be solely focused on Superman. And our thing was there was the plot hole of how come no other superheroes knew about this. This was a world calamity and no other superhero came to his funeral. No other hero came to fill in the shoes of Superman.
What the heck happened to Justice League?
Yes. And we saw Justice League and some other heroes were featured when they thought he was gone. So it was confusing when this event, this travesty happened, but no one in the Justice League made an appearance or even saw it on TV or had someone to come and fill in his shoes because they needed a hero. It's just like, okay, well, he's back now.
And Batman, of all people, didn't try to figure out what happened. So this just didn't make sense as a movie.
And I think that's when it fell apart the most.
Definitely.
Like, why isn't this a grander thing than what we're seeing?
Now, one thing, now that we're having this podcast that I thought about and never thought about before is My Adventures with Superman heavily borrowed from this in season 2.
Yes. For the Brainiac storyline, they actually ended up using part of the Doomsday idea and just swapped it with Brainiac and made him a much more intimidating and darker figure rather than just being simple artificial intelligence.
Definitely. Now, it looked good for the time the animation came out.
Yes.
Tim style.
Still mostly, his style. You could tell it was slightly different artist, but it was still what you were familiar with.
Right. And it actually got a special edition Blu-ray and DVD release a year later in November of 2008. It got a PG-13 rating because of violence and profane language.
Oh, they got worse now.
Yeah, this will be rated PG now.
Yes, this is PG.
And the soundtrack actually got some accolades. It was released in October 2007, composed by Robert J. Cray. And it had quite a few songs, 26.
Wow, yeah, big soundtrack.
And it runs almost a minute and 57, I'm sorry, it runs almost an hour at 57 minutes and 34 seconds. So a lot was put into attempting to make this a success.
Yeah.
But again, for us, there were too many plot holes, no Justice League, no other superheroes. The fighting just wouldn't stop. And Lex Luthor was the worst part of this movie. When you saw what happened, when you saw the clones, when you saw what he did, because
like,
his only goal was to destroy Superman. He didn't give a darn about anything else.
Yeah, and it's like, he did it. Technically, he succeeded, but not the way he wanted. So the clones were more of, he can have him under his thumb, and it's like Joker. He wanted to do that with his own hands. Like, okay, you just keep getting worse in this movie.
Because he had to use kryptonite, so it wasn't with his own hands.
Right.
And then even at the end of the movie, when this jerk survived somehow, he's still thinking about destroying Superman. So
it's
to
like,
me,
what?
It was like, what was the purpose of this movie?
I don't know.
Nothing constructive, progressive happened. It just was a movie.
Right.
And that, for me, is the failure.
Right. Now, for me, there is one thing in here I thought was probably, ironically, the best part for me in this movie. During the time when they thought Superman was dead, and you had the clone come in, you didn't know was the clone, in case you haven't seen it. And they keep building this thing that he's acting off all the time. He's getting more aggressive with the quote-unquote justice. He's actually threatening citizens. Like, if you cross the line or make one false move, he's going to end them. And it's like, he's acting weird and everything. And then you get to the point where you find out that, yeah, Superman is alive, but it's not Lois that finds him. It's not Justice League member that finds him. It's not even Lex Luthor. It is his robot, voiced by Tom Kenny. Yes. His kids, Tom Kenny saves Superman. I am not kidding. That is the movie. Tom Kenny saves Superman. He said, I knew you were not dead. And he went and found him and resuscitated him. It's like, Tom Kenny was the true hero of this movie.
Yes. And with that, let's give a shout out to the rest of the cast as well. So we have Adam Baldwin as Kal-El, Clark Kent, and Superman.
Yes.
And we were kind of surprised to hear Adam Baldwin, who we really weren't familiar with.
Right.
Anne Hesh as Lois Lane. And this was also a surprise. Anne Hesh passed away some time ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know that she voiced Lois Lane at some point.
Right.
James Marsters as Lex Luthor. John DiMaggio as Toyman. Tom Kenny!
Yes!
As the robot, which is what he was called.
Yes, literally.
Susie Curse as Martha Kent. Cree Summer as Mercy Graves. And this is a whole different version of Mercy Graves. It actually got taken out by Lex Luthor.
Pretty early on, too.
Ray Wise as Perry White. Adam Wiley as Jimmy Olsen. Kevin Smith as Grumpy Man. Kimberly Brooks as Murphy. Townsend Coleman as Drill Operator. Chris Cox as Damon Swank. Hetty Lynn Hurtis as the newscaster. And James Arnold Taylor, Johnny Test, as Officer Tucker.
Yes.
So it had a good cast of people that we actually knew and some we didn't.
And they still performed well.
Absolutely. Animation was good. For the time this was released, it was a good looking movie. And it performed well. But for me, now watching it all these years later and never having seen it before, it's not on my list of DC movies I like. I can do without seeing it again. And personally, I think it's one of their weaker movies, considering all the ones we've watched and covered that have been supremely better in plot line, in character development, and superhero appearances and so much more.
Yes. But we are happy for the ones that do enjoy the movie and found a way to really find the best parts of this. They feel like this is more accurate.
That's Tom Kenny.
Right?
Now, that's your cue. If you love this movie, you like it and you've seen it, let us know in the comments. What about it stuck out for you, making it a favorite? And if there's anything we missed, let us know. If you haven't seen it You can probably find it to watch free on Tubi because they have a lot of DC movies.
Yeah.
And go ahead, give it a watch, come back, tell us what you think. Do you agree or did we miss the mark on missing the mark for this movie?
Right. And if you haven't already, subscribe for updates to big reviews for anime series, anime shows, and all things animation.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us, sharing our podcast, commenting, subscribing, so much more. As always,
You are special. Thank you so much for watching Masculine
And
Entertainment.
Mom Entertainment.
Have a toon-tastic day.
Peace.
With over 70 minutes of special features. Own Superman Doomsday, the all-new original movie only on DVD. Will you miss the fight?
Over my dead body.